right, we're live. Good evening and welcome to the Ecclesia, the gathering of an online progressive community of faith for Sunday evening, May 10th. My name is Craig Bartlett and I lead these meetings, so I bid a welcome to you from wherever or whenever you are. As is our custom, let's take a few moments to enter into the time and the place where we are. So let's just take a moment to breathe. Find a space on the wall. Concentrate on that space and become aware of your breathing. You don't have to breathe in any particular way. Just become aware of your breathing. And see if you can feel if the breath is coming from your abdomen, like from the very bottom of your belly. Don't try to heave your shoulders. Don't try to force a breath, but just let it come naturally from the base of your abdomen, from your diaphragm. And just be aware of the sensations around you in the room. Where are you sitting? How does that feel? What's the temperature like where you're sitting? Is it warm? Is it cool? Is it comfortable? Hopefully it is. And simply try to enter into this moment, in this time, in this place. And hopefully you will be able to say, Ime mi, I am here. Continuing on from where we were last time, I will read as I did last time from Psalm 13. As I've said before, even though this is an official kind of progressive community of faith, that this is a place where we can learn, and where we walk through the classic Christian faith into a more open, a more expansive kind of faith. So we do that now by reading Psalm 13. Let's try that again. How long will you forget me forever? How long will you hide your face from me? How long must I bear pain in my soul and have sorrow in my heart all day long? How long shall my enemy be exalted over me? Consider and answer me. Give light to my eyes, or I will sleep the sleep of death. And my enemy will say, I have prevailed. My foes will rejoice because I am shaken. But I trusted in your steadfast love. My heart shall rejoice in your salvation. I will sing to the one who has dealt bountifully with me. And the second reading is again taken from David Kessler, who has continued the work of Elizabeth Kubler-Ross on the stages of grief. And I thought that this was appropriate given our pandemic COVID-19 world. And so these are excerpts taken from an interview that David Kessler did with the Harvard Business Review. And this is a reading of wisdom on the stages of grief. There's denial, which we say a lot early on. This virus won't affect us. There's anger. You're making me stay home and taking away my activities. There's bargaining. Okay, if I social distance for 2 weeks, everything will be better, right? There's sadness. I don't know when this will end. And finally, there's acceptance. This is happening. I know what to do to make it to proceed. Unhealthy anticipatory grief is really anxiety. Our mind begins to show us images. We see the worst case scenarios. That's our minds being protective. Our goal is not to ignore those images or try to make them go away. The goal is to find balance in the things you're thinking. To calm yourself, you want to come into the present. This will be familiar advice to anyone who has meditated or practiced mindfulness, but people are always surprised at how prosaic this can be. Name 5 things in the room. Breathe. In the present moment, nothing you've anticipated has happened. This is a temporary state. It helps to say it. And I believe we will find meaning in it. I did not want to stop at acceptance when I experienced some personal grief. I wanted meaning in those darkest hours. And I do believe we find light in those times. So, as he noted, there are the classic 5 stages of grief that he speaks about, going on from denial to anger to bargaining to sadness. And then he talks about acceptance, accepting that this is happening and that we have to find a way to proceed. And that much of the grief we feel is anticipatory. We anticipate the worst things that could happen. It's important that we not stay there, though. It's important that we find ways that we can continue on, that we can find things that we can do in order to cope in the midst of what is really a crisis. And what we see in many parts of the world is people who can't deal with the crisis, who can't find the things that they can do to keep themselves safe. They have trouble finding a way to keep that anticipatory grief, that fear of the worst things happening. They find it difficult to keep that away. And so in some parts of the world, you have leaders and communities and protesters trying to get back to the way things used to be right away or before they're ready. I think we can easily see that in some parts of the world. And part of that is because it may be because it's just too much for us to get used to, this new state of affairs. It's too difficult to get used to this new normal. Or people don't have the resources or the support that they need to get to the new normal, to become adjusted to it. And for others, whenever there are setbacks, whenever there are things that go wrong, they want to find someone to blame, someone to point the finger at. Where I live here in Korea, where there has been an unfortunate local outbreak in Seoul, which happened just this past week, there are people in the community who want to find someone at whom they can point the fingers of blame. Some community of those who are different. They want to find the people who are different, whom they can say, these people are the problem. And in this case, it happens to be, it looks like it's going to be the LGBT community. Well, the fact is that just because this new local outbreak happened in a particular area, that doesn't mean it has anything to do with being a sexual or gender minority any more than it does to do with being Christian or to being athletically active or to enjoying a glass of wine. Because here in this country, a lot of the outbreaks have been associated with churches. And I'm not just talking about Xinjiang, I'm talking about regular run-of-the-mill Christian churches. One of the localized outbreaks was at a wine bar. One particular localized outbreak with over 100 cases was at a gym, a health club, a health facility. Are we going to say working out now is somehow a bad thing and that we should marginalize people who work out regularly? We know how nonsensical that is. Why does it make more sense to marginalize anyone else just because of a particular local outbreak happening in a particular area? So the important thing is not trying to find sources of blame, because that's just a continuation of denial, of bargaining. It's these people's fault, it's not mine. Or if we marginalize this community, if we keep them to one side, if we keep them out of our accepted relationships, then everything is going to be fine. We can go back to things just as they used to be. Well, that is not going to happen. It hasn't happened until now, and it won't happen this time either. It is up to us to accept that these things can happen anywhere at any time, and that we simply have to go back and do the safe things that we know how to do in order to get back to some sense of normalcy. And that can be as simple as washing our hands and keeping appropriate distance. And if we find out that we've been in contact with a person or with people who may have been exposed to the virus, to quarantine ourselves for our health's sake. And that is nobody's fault. That is simply something that we need to do. Something which we can do, something which we know works. Something which will lead us back to acceptance of our current situation. And once we have acceptance of our current situation, we can find ways to control it. And once we control it, we know that we can find new meaning. So in the days ahead, I'm going to be talking about what it means, what is the new meaning in this situation that we're going to find? What is the new meaning that we're all going to have to deal with? What will be the new challenges for us in the current situation that we find ourselves? So may we not stay in denial or bargaining or sadness, but may we continue to accept and take control of the things that we can do, and go from there to new meaning. So may it be. And so in this time, a time that we classically call prayer in the Christian tradition, let us think of those situations, those people, those places for whom we are grateful. And let us think of those places which we are concerned for. We remember those who have been newly exposed and those who are newly quarantined and are in uncertainty over the newest localized outbreak in Seoul. We hope for health for anyone who has been infected, for anyone who has been affected. For those in need of medical care, may they receive the care that they need. For those who look for scapegoats and who look for someone to blame, we hope that they will find peace in their own minds. That they may move beyond fear and anger and denial and bargaining. That they may come to accept the reality of the situation and that they may concentrate on the things which they can do in this time. We remember places which are seeking to try and find a way back to some semblance of normal. In some places, this may be premature. This may be a manifestation of denial. In others, it may be a carefully planned first step. It is our prayer that those who seek to go back to some semblance of normal may not be doing it out of fear, out of bravado, for that will simply lead to a continuation of the way things are now, and it may lead to a situation which only gets worse. And in those places where they are taking reasonable first steps, it is our prayer that sensibility may reign and sober thought, that people will concentrate on the things which they can do, the things which they can do safely. And for all of us, it is our prayer that we may be able to continue on with life as well as we can live it. And may it be our prayer that we just not go back to the way things used to be, exactly 100% as it was before, because we always know that life can be better, that our community can be organized better, that we can take care of each other in better ways. And so this is our prayer, both today and always. So may it be, and let everyone say, Amen. So, until the next time we meet, always remember, wash your hands regularly, keep safe social distances, care for those who are in need of care the best way that you know how, and in the safest and most appropriate ways that you know how. And remember to care for all those whom you love, and remember to keep struggling for a new day, a new way, a better way. Blessings and peace to you all, and I hope to see you again soon.